This headline caught my attention. Andrew Tate, the famous dating coach, YouTube slash influencer, has not only been banned by Facebook and Instagram and TikTok the last few days, now he's been banned officially from YouTube. So his account was banned today. He had over 768,000 subscribers. And what do I think about this? Well, first off, I'm not a fan of Andrew Tate, so I have mixed emotions of this. I don't like him, but I have mixed emotions about banning him from all these platforms. I first want to talk about why someone like Andrew Tate is so popular. And to understand that, I'm going to divulge into this topic that I feel we're in an era of what I call toxic feminism. That's what I define this era. This is the era of toxic feminism. And it's because of this era, guys like Andrew Tate have become very popular, and even the late Kevin Samuels prospered from this era. It gave the rise to these types of figures. And to understand why these guys are popular, you must understand what is toxic feminism. So here's how I'm going to define it. There's several categories I put into toxic feminism. So the first one is when you disagree with a woman. And you can disagree with her about anything. It could be something simple like you don't think this show is better than this show or whatever. It could be any general disagreement, but it's not hateful or spiteful. But she feels insulted that she accuses you of aggressively attacking her verbally, that you're abusing her or you're just questioning her in any way. You can't have a civilized disagreement with a woman today for the most part without it getting out of hand, without a woman getting emotional, just yelling, losing her cool, and just accusing you of stuff. And the worst thing about it, even if you're the calm, rational person in this disagreement, you still end up losing because everyone sides with the woman. They believe that you attacked her verbally and mentally when it was all it was a simple disagreement. So that's one of the things I put in there. And just another one just goes side and side with the last statement I made is when a woman aggressively starts yelling, hurling insults at you, but you can't say anything back. For example, it could just be out of the blue. She's angry at you and she just starts yelling, cursing, screaming at the top of her lungs at you. It could be a simple mishap. You could be in a relationship, but if she's out in public and she starts yelling at the top of her lungs at you, you can't do anything about it. You have to take it. If you yell back, she can accuse you of again being aggressive and attacking her. She can start crying, saying that this is your fault, I'm innocent, and then you have to deal with all that mess. That to me is just terrible. So men get emasculated plenty of times when women yell at them because they're too scared. If they stand up, what could happen? The woman could call the police, make false allegations. So that's another thing about this era that sucks. And the next one is just a woman making false allegations about you. A woman can accuse you of rape when it never happened. I'm not saying that women lie all the time, but I'm saying there's plenty of cases where women have made false allegations of rape. They can make false allegations of physical abuse, mental abuse. But once a woman accuses you of these things, unless you have hardcore evidence and that can exonerate you from this, a woman is always going to win in the court of public opinion. So your reputation is destroyed, it's dragged into the mud. It's just marred. No one will respect you anymore. So if you're in a situation where it's her word against your word, you may win in court, but you could still lose outside of court where people will always speculate if you were that guy, if you did those things, unless you had concrete evidence to show she's a liar. So that to me is terrible, how men have to worry about false allegations every day. And it's not just in the dating world, it could be at work. A colleague of yours could accuse you of something that you didn't do to her. She could just make it up and then you're in trouble and you have to deal with all this nonsense that follows. So I think that's terrible, that category of just false allegations. So that's another thing that's part of this era. So another thing is I feel is just accountability and being honest. I feel when a man is honest with a woman, he's branded as a horrible person. For example, if a woman is grossly overweight and obese and you tell this woman she is out of shape, or you're being truthful that, hey, it's going to be hard for you to find a man if you don't get in shape, you're crucified by society today. You're told that you're a rotten person, you're horrible, and you're terrible, when that's not the case, because men are honest with men. A man is going to tell another man if he's out of shape. If he's friends with that man, he'll tell him like, hey, you need to lose the weight. You got to do whatever it takes to lose that weight. It's not a good look for you. It's hurting you. So I think women can't handle honesty in this era. And when you tell them the truth, they just erupt, and then you become the bad person again. You're a terrible person. I would say just the next part of it is it goes back to just women not being held accountable for bad decisions. When women make terrible decisions, they find a way to blame the man. Somehow, some way, they'll blame him for their misfortune. Maybe they selected the wrong partner and the man abandoned them. They want to blame all men as evil or horrible people, but maybe you made the bad decision. The red flags could have already been there that this guy's a horrible human being. He's been around with tons of other women and he doesn't treat them right. But you want to drag all men in the mud and tell them that they're awful, or just, in general, just not being honest with yourself about your bad decisions. And it could span to other things too. I've seen women accuse men of why their lives are terrible, or why they can't get ahead in the corporate world, or just why they don't have certain things, but they never look in the mirror to ask themselves, like, could I have hurt myself? Could I have done something that held me back from attaining these things I desire? And you can't hold them accountable, because again, you're made into the bad guy. You're made into this horrible human being. I would say the next thing I want to identify is just the legal system also empowers women over men. Unfortunately, women have more power than men in the legal system. So men always go through a risk if they decide to have a family. They always have to deal with that risk in the back of their head that this woman can leave them at any time. And if she does, she's going to shatter this man financially and mentally. He can lose his kids. On top of that, he has to pay all that money for divorce, which is going to wreck him financially. The child support is going to kill him, just financially and mentally. It's a horrible experience. So when you're married, you basically have a gun pointed towards your head. If you're a man, you have everything to lose. While the woman can recover much easier after a divorce than a man can. And many studies prove this. A woman can come back much quicker, and they're able to restart their life again, where a man does not get a reset. They rarely get a clean reset where they're back to what their status was prior to the divorce. So you're dealing with that also in this era as a man. And then there's just the dating experience, where women just have unrealistic expectations of what they can get from a man today. It's one thing if you're a woman and you look like a supermodel, or you're a model and you expect to be with an attractive guy. That's understandable. But you have a bunch of women now who are not even looking like models, who are just average to below average, but they want a guy that looks like a model, who's tall, who's strong, and who makes a ton of money. That is a unicorn. that doesn't really exist unless you find an athlete. That's like the only person you could find who is tall, strong, in shape, and rich, and in some cases attractive. But most cases, you're not going to get all those things. You're going to have to pick one of the things you want as a woman and a man, and just go for it and accept it. You're not going to get some guy who's just tall, smart, intelligent, funny, rich, and good looking. That's just not real. But now all women expect that. So that's created this mess now, where people like Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels has capitalized off of this mess. They have capitalized off of toxic feminism, and they know how to sell an audience on it. Just they make money off of this. It's created the rise of all these other manosphere YouTubers that we see all over YouTube, who are just raking it with cash. These guys have no solutions to the problems at all. They can't tell you how to fix the problems. That's my biggest qualm with them. They have zero solutions. And it's very obvious that they're just making money now off of this. This is just their business model, to talk about it every single day. And they get a bunch of guys hooked into it, but they don't really give solutions of how they can overcome it, other than just don't have kids, don't have a family, which I don't think, unfortunately, is realistic for most men. Most men desire a family and to have kids and all those things. Maybe an elite few don't want that, but most guys do. So I don't know if that's realistic on how to combat this problem. They don't talk about any ways to change the issue. Like, for example, like legally, how about you guys discuss about how how to pass some laws that protect men in divorce and child support where they don't get screwed over, so then they can take that risk to start a family and they don't have to worry about it. Like, why don't you guys have a movement for that? Of course you don't, because that movement is not going to enrich your pockets. So of course you're not going to promote that. I don't see any of these guys promoting those things, because I think legally you could fix part of this problem, like I said, through changing the divorce laws and just the child support laws. But you have to have a movement first before any of that stuff can change. But I don't see these guys doing that. So that's why I don't see these guys as legit. They're just there to take your money, and they have their donations through chat, and they're there to capitalize off your anger, your frustration, which could be sexual frustration of just having to deal with this mess and just dealing with toxic women in your life, whether it's someone you're in a relationship or a family member or whatnot. But they don't give solutions to the problems, really legit solutions, other than just be single forever and just live your life, which to me is not a great solution for most guys, because most guys are not wired like that. As much as these followers of them like to believe, they're not even like that. The only reason they're following them is because they're angry and they're upset because they can't get what they want. With that being said, I have the mixed emotions of Andrew Tate getting banned, because it just shows, again, toxic feminism wins every time. And that's what it shows. So I'm mixed about that, because I think toxic feminism is terrible. Do I think Andrew Tate is the solution? No, but I think there has to be enough people combating it for it to eventually be checked or just lowered to a level where it's more manageable, because it's not manageable today for most men. Most men cannot manage this era, this environment that we're in. That's the way I look at it. Just, I wish there was clear-cut solutions to how to fix this problem, other than the legal stuff I mentioned, but there's nothing else. I will say this: YouTube and these social media outlets banning Andrew Tate, they're doing this as a business move, because they know women are the largest consumers of buying goods, and that goes hand in hand with advertisements. These social media websites, they all have advertisements. So advertisers know women are the group they want to target. They're the ones who spend more than men. Men don't spend as much as women on buying goods. So I think that plays a huge role in these social media outlets banning guys like Andrew Tate, because they don't want to offend their sponsors, the advertisers, and the advertisers in return want to be able to continue to sell stuff to women. It's just a capitalistic model right here, and it just shows, again, just that this wave of toxic feminism is also sponsored by capitalism. If you think about it on a deep level, capitalism, they make a lot of money off of toxic feminism, versus if it didn't exist, they wouldn't be making as much money. So you also have to follow the money in a capitalistic system to see how these issues are related. Money can go hand in hand with a lot of these issues, including social issues, which might surprise you. So when it comes to Tate being banned, they may think they have won, but I don't think YouTube or these social media outlets have won, because someone else will come along, and you can't really stop the reaction to this wave of toxic feminism. It's like that old rule: I believe for every action, there's an equal reaction. So that's really what this is right now. Andrew Tate may be gone right now, but there'll be another guy, and maybe you can ban that guy, but there'll be another guy that comes after that, and it's going to continue to happen until this era ends. I don't know when this era will end or how long it's going to end, but you'll have more guys like that. So that's really how I feel about this subject. I don't really have anything else to say.